welcome back. This took me a little longer to come back than I expected. Sorry for that. We are having construction done on the facade of our apartment building, and so it's been very loud this week and last week. So I think I've caught them on their lunch break, and I'm going to try to get this done. So today I have quite a bit for you. I have 4 things that I've worked on. I have plans for July. I have, what else do I have? I have crochet, I have a book I want to talk about, and I have a movie, which was quite surprising to me. So before we get into that, I have a giveaway to announce. So in the last, I did a whip right after, but in my last Flosstube, my update, I asked you to see if you could find a mistake and where I fudged that mistake in my tarot card. And I was asked if I was going to show you where it was, and I am. So this is Death, and I told you the mistake was somewhere in the border. It is actually on this left side, and I'm going to use my scissors because my finger is bigger. So you can see this little symbol down here that connects to the border here, and then this one here, there is one space in between it, right there. There should be 2. On this side, there's 2. So I came up here. Let me see if I can find it again. Okay, I found it. So right here, let me get my scissors. Right there. You can maybe see there's 2 stitches right here. This is not easy to do. Anyway, I added the extra right there because there's only supposed to be 1 there. So that's where it is. I added 2 stitches in here before I went up to do this top section here. So that was the mistake down here, and that was the correction up here. So now, I started this video a few minutes ago. Like I said, I thought I had quiet, and so I spun for the winner, and then I had to cut the video. So this is the comment picker. This is the comment. I don't know how to say your name. I think it's Callie's of Finishes 8062. And so there you go. And she says she could not find the mistake, didn't even tell that there was one, and she liked how it looked. So that is the winner. And you can reach me at the Keystone Stitcher on Instagram. Just send me a direct message. Let me know it's you. Or if you don't have Instagram, you can send me an email. It is also the Keystone Stitcher at gmail.com. So I will probably see your comment faster if it goes to Instagram, but you can choose whichever is best. And I will put that down below for you. Okay, so I have no clue how many stitches I did total because most of what I worked on is not in Pattern Keeper. Yeah, so before I show you, let me tell you I stitched everything you're going to see. 2/1 full cross. Most of it is on 18 count. I have one on 20 count, at least one, I don't know. And so we're going to get started. So the first one is my next tarot card. And this is the Cursed, and yeah. So all that I had done was a little section in here. So here's where it was before. And I wanted to show you, when I have a little tiny section like this, I always put my needle, I weave it into the very top of the fabric, and I always do that on the top. And that way, when I pick it up, if it's such a small start like that, I know instantly where my top is, and I know which direction it's going to go in. So now all I really have to do on this is the border. So you can see I got a little bit of start right here on the one part of the border, but yeah, that's where I'm at. The next one that I worked on, I put quite a bit in. This is Stone Expression. I am working on completing 3371. This is artwork by Giuseppe Miconi. This was charted by Stitch Moon Designs. It's currently not available. And let me lean back. There we go, I can get the whole thing in. So I had some 3371 down here, but all of this down here is new. So I'm going to put in the before that section, and I was at 43.25%. I'm now at 47.88%, and I've put in 4,359 stitches. So there it is. That's Stone Expression. So I'm almost to the far end. You can see this is the very end of it. So I just have this small section to fill in. And then right here, I'm going to start getting into her mouth. And then I have the nose kind of started, and over here you can see the one eye started. So this had 13,000 stitches. I'm now under 10,000. So I'm really happy with that. So this one will be a finish this year. I guarantee it. This has hung around a little too long. So yeah. She's so cool looking. Giuseppe has an amazing imagination for art. He's on Instagram. I should link his Instagram down below so you can see some of his other pieces. But yeah, I would love to stitch more of his art. Okay, so then I started on my July plans. Now we're in the middle of a heat wave, so the idea of even picking up strength, which this is strength, which is very large, and fabric, and it's too hot. I don't want fabric. So I got a jump start on my July plans, and my July plans are going to involve Christmas in July. I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. But for now, I worked on Children and Christmas Tree. This is by Crazy Bee Designs on Etsy. Now, again, this does not work in Pattern Keeper, but I had her mostly done when you last saw it. I had the gold on his coat. I added his mitten, his collar, and this portion of his hat. I have a little bit more to do on his hat, but that's where I've gotten to. This is an 18 count that I dyed myself. Stone Expression is on a 20 count even weave that I did dye as well. This is an aida. Everything else you will see today is on aida. So that's where Children and Christmas Tree are. Then the next one was a new start, and this is just called Santa. It's by Stitcharea, and it's a quote from the movie Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase. And so this is my start. So this is the banner, so here's what it's supposed to look like, and you can compare. I let my grandchildren this week pick what fabric, and those letters just pop on this fabric in real life, but they're kind of not, there we go, you can see that now. So this will say jolliest, and I'm working on that E. So I had 4 fabrics in my scrap. These are, cuts from other things. And I had 4 fabrics, and I pulled them out, and I went to my granddaughter. I had my youngest 2 grandchildren here. And I said, okay, I'm doing a Christmas piece. I didn't tell her anything about it. And I said, which one do you think I should do it on? And she picked this fabric and another fabric. And she's like, I don't know, it'll be between those 2. So I took it over to my grandson, and I said, okay, pick one of these 2. And he picked the blue. And so, yeah, I'm real happy with that. I love Stitcharea. I did her office. I did there. I'm not sure if it's a female or a male. I did the office for my daughter-in-law last year. Her charts are super easy to read. I just love doing them. Okay, so before I get into my plans, I do want to introduce you to a new Flosstuber. She has 2 videos. Her name is Aster, and her channel is called Cross Stitch with Aster. She has, I think she has 4 charts on the go at the moment. She likes to have her finishes, and she has one by Unconventional X Stitch, which immediately makes me happy. She has a couple gaming type. One is a full coverage, one is not. And I know she's doing Stardew Valley, the map, I think it is. And then she has one that she charted herself with a moth, and it's beautiful. She only has 19 subscribers, so give her a look and, help her grow her channel. So now plans. I'm going to be working on strength. I'm going back now that things are settling in a little bit. I want to get back to strength and get that done. It's currently at 75%, and I didn't pull her out today, but this is what she looks like right now. So that needs some work. I will probably continue working on that bottom section on the bottom right and just start filling that all in before I move back up. I will also be working on Stone Expression, which I just showed you, and my goal is to continue working and filling out the 3371. I don't think I will get it all done this month. I know I won't have it done by my next video because I believe there's still about 8,000 some stitches left, but that's a lot better than 13. But that's the goal there. And so why did I do this? So I worked down at the bottom. You're going to find this funny. So knowing that I was going to be busy and my granddaughter was going to be staying with me, I knew that this would be coming out, but it would also have to be put down quickly. And if I worked up here and got her mouth and her nose and her eye, and if I was getting her facial features, it would be frustrating to put it down just as it was coming to life. So I worked down here, and I mean, you can tell where some of the greenery will come in and stuff like that, but this wasn't like features that I would want to keep working on. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue finishing this bottom. I've already charted for it, and then I will move my way up into her actual face. So those are my two focus pieces for during the week. But I'm also doing Christmas in July. And sorry, I'm checking my notes. So Christmas in July, I have pulled out all my Christmas pieces that I've started. This is an image that I showed you at the end of last year of charts that I was going to start for Christmas, and I was going to use it as whip go. And my plan was get them all started, and then in December, work on them. Well, I still want to work on Christmas pieces in December, but I haven't started all of them, and I gave up on whip go. So I have 8 projects that I can switch back and forth with. I don't know which project I will work on any given time. These are going to be kept in a project bag, and I will pull out whatever calls to me at that moment. So these are the 8 that you may see. And so first we have the Children Christmas Tree that you've already seen. Then we have the Santa by Stitcharea. You really got to get close to, there we go, to see the yellows. That's what that actually looks like in real life. So there's that one. I then have, did I tell you, where did I get, so yeah, that's Stitcharea. Man, I'm listening for outside and I'm so distracted. I'm sorry. The next one is Tree of Wonder. This came from the Just Cross Stitch Christmas Edition 2025. And I'm doing the reverse. So I'm doing the negative parts. And I believe I'm doing this in 746. I'll have to look at my folder and see. It's either Ecru or 745, 746. I don't know, one of the two. I've got them in my Christmas folder, and I'll just see which one it is. Okay, so that one, the next one is Merry Christmas House. This is by Seraphima Stitch on Etsy. And this is what it will look like. Oh man. And there's where I am. So yeah, there are so many color changes in this. It looks very simple, but it's not the most simple. But that one is fun. Now the next one, I'm hoping I have an image of this in my photos because I can't find the actual paper image. This is Village Christmas. This was in the December 2023 issue of Just Cross Stitch magazine. And this is a circular design, and this is where I'm starting at. So yeah, so this right here is the center, as you can see, the page break. So I think I'm just going to keep working down and get this whole half, and then I'll go back up and do the other half. This is on an 18 count, this is by Zweigart. I believe this is Antique Blue. So there's that one. The next one is Woodland Santa. This is what that will look like. Get the glare off of it. This was from an old Craftways Christmas book. It was either 2017 or 2018, but that's what I'm doing. So this is where that's at. And again, these are just scraps that I had, that I cut off of my full coverage or something like that. And I use these for Christmas. So that's where that is. And I think this is the width here, so then I just have a little bit more here. But I will have a bit of a border. I'm not worried about it. So that's my Win-Win Santa. I then have one, I haven't decided what fabric I'm going to use, but every year I make an ornament for my grandchildren, and I still have to make the one for my youngest grandchild. So I try to personalize these by what they're into. And this year I was having a hard time. He's into two things majorly. One are sports, so basketball and football. He loves football. And the other is Ninja Turtles. But I wasn't able to find a Ninja Turtle that I could then, excuse me, I could then add maybe a Santa hat or something like that. I just didn't like any. They were either too pixelated, more like your pixel people, or they were too large, or I just couldn't find it. So I gave up and I went with this. This is called Santa Sport Christmas. It's by Sell Printable Art. It's SEL and then printable art. This is on Etsy, and so this is going to be his ornament. This is 70 by 70. I'll put that on an 18 or a 20 count just to keep it small for the tree. Okay, and finally I have 'Twas the Night. This is not started either. This is by Sue Hillis, and I'm going to put it on this green. This is Spring by Picture This Plus. This is Sue Hillis's chart. Now this was done as a paper chart, but if you've never visited Everything Cross Stitch, so it's like 1, 2, 3 Stitch, only 1, 2, 3 Stitch has a more comprehensive inventory than Everything Cross Stitch. And Everything Cross Stitch, if you are buying physical items, their shipping is more expensive than 1, 2, 3 Stitch. But Everything Cross Stitch has now got the licensing rights to sell certain artwork as PDFs. So Sue Hillis, Imaginating, and Teresa Wentzler, I think there's 1 or 2 more. So I was able to get this as a PDF that will work on Pattern Keeper. And if I start that, then I will put it on Spring. So those are my Christmas pieces at this time. The other ones that were in my Whip Go, I don't anticipate starting them right now. I might start them in December or something of that nature, but yeah, not right now. So before I show you crochet, now I should show you crochet because it'll be a lot quicker. Sorry, somebody decided they needed to lay on their car horn. I am using this cotton sock yarn. This is a milk cotton, so it uses the leftover. Anyway, they use a product left over in our milk. And so this is extremely soft. It is by YAOU, and I picked this up from Hirschner's. Now this is, you cannot throw this in the washing machine. And I was going to be making a bralette for my granddaughter. And I showed you that I bought this yarn a while ago. I was going to surprise her and have it done when she got down here. And then I decided that no, I wanted her to personalize this. So she had seen one at a flea market, or not a flea market, at a festival that we attended, and I didn't like it. It was done with a heavier acrylic yarn. It was very heavy, and they wanted a lot of money for it. It was also, I want to say it was done with Red Heart because it was very scratchy. So I told her I could do it for her, and what I did is I waited till she was here, and I gave her my tape measure, and I let her measure like from her midriff up to where her center of her breast would be. Okay, and then I let her, she would try it on at different stages. Now I haven't blocked this one, but she tried it on at different stages until she had it for the coverage that she liked. She's very modest. I mean, she'll show her midriff and that kind of thing, and she'll wear short shorts, but she's very modest when it comes to coverage, right? I then gave her, now the one that she saw at the festival, like I said, it was done in Red Heart, or something like Red Heart, and the midriff section was extremely heavy. It appeared to be done in a single crochet. Now I did this in a single crochet for coverage of, privacy. I then asked her if she liked that full coverage, if she wanted her midriff to be fully covered, or did she want some open work done on it. And I have a book of all these different, there's like 500 some stitches that I can refer to if I need to. But I started showing her images and she picked this out. So this is a shell stitch, and you can see on the bottom the shell work, but she wanted it just closed like that, so you don't get too much of the shell in here. I mean, you can, let's see if I can get so you can kind of see, but the bottom is ruffled, so you can see the shell. And then again, I gave her the tape measure and I said, measure from the bottom of your breast down, tell me how many inches you want the midriff covered. So she did that. And then I asked her how she wanted to tie it. Did she want a top? Did she want to tie at her neck? And then a tie, one or two around the bodice section, the midriff section, bodice. And then I showed her this image, and I said this was kind of where I was leaning for this. She saw that and went, yep. So I just need to then add the tie at the top here, and then lace it down. So this will be done tonight. But yeah, and then she had to go home early, so I will mail that off to her probably tomorrow if the heat breaks. I'm really not in the mood to go out in the heat to go to the post office. Okay, so then now we have purchases. I told you about my July plans. So purchases. All but one came from Unconventional X Stitch. So Unconventional X Stitch is retiring some of their charts. Sorry, wrong word. And they retired some at the end of June, and I picked up a couple. So I showed you those in my last video. And then they had a whole file of ones being retired in July. Well, just the other day, a fellow Flosstuber, I'm not on Facebook or anything, and so whenever there's an announcement from Unconventional X Stitch, she lets me know. And she said, hey, she's eliminating a few more, and one of the ones you're working on is being retired. I keep saying eliminated. I eliminated them from my wish list, but they're being retired. So this is the one that I'm working on. This is by Starlight. That one will be no more, 20 days or so. I didn't check this morning. So I went through my wish list and I had a lot. So before I knew about the new ones being retired, I had like 11 charts in my wish list that were being retired. So I started looking at them and saying, do I have to have this? And I was able to talk myself out of quite a few, and I got them down to 4. And those 4, I said, I really need to have these. I love these. And then I found out about the next group, and I had several more on my wish list from this next group. And I eliminated and got those down to 2. Now, I'm looking at me, right? I'm in my 60s, and I don't have that many more years to stitch. I have enough, but I'm not going to live forever. And so I went into my Dropbox and I said, okay, how many of these am I really going to do? And there were some that I went, I like this more than I like that. And there were a couple in my Dropbox that when I look for a new chart, I disregard those immediately because there are ones I love a lot more. So I deleted those out and I went, okay, I'm never going to stitch those because I just always put those off. So between all these new purchases now, I have 21 full coverage. Well, one is not a full coverage, but I have it in my full coverage. So actually 20 full coverage, but I have 21 in that folder. And if I get all of those done, if I finish 1 per year, which I can do 1 to 2 a year, this will take me until I'm in my 90s. So I think I am officially done buying charts for me, unless there is something absolutely amazing that comes out. But I still want to support Jody. I want to keep her in business. So I think every time I get the itch to buy something, I'm going to give you a gift certificate to Unconventional X Stitch and you buy it. And so there may be more frequent purchases or giveaways. All right, so what did I buy now that I've gone and rambled on about that? The first one I bought was Artemis by Jennifer Herbata Lesser. This measures 600 by 400. This is relatively new, so I was shocked this was going, but had to have it. The next one is by Deanna Bach Art. This is Birds of a Feather. And if you know me, I'm obsessed with birds, animals. And this had to be part of my gallery, right? I needed it. So this one is also by Deanna Bach Art. This is part of the second group that will be retired in July. Another one by Deanna Bach Art is In the Rain. Oh, wait a minute, I didn't tell you. Birds of a Feather measures 400 by 295. In the Rain measures 244 by 350. And she's just so cute. This is my only non-full coverage. This is Nevermore. This is by Valentina Girardi. I think it's Girardi. It measures 212 by 342. The next one is by Borda Adrian. My WordPress office that I put my notes in changed Borda's name to Berta. It's called Now I Believe in Love. This measures 239 by 280. And if you saw my last update, my Flosstuber that I mentioned was Lil from A Voyage to a Million Stitches. She bought this one as well. So we're going to start this on the 15th of July. And, you know, it'll kind of be a sale, but you know how it's more of a start along. We needed to start that. And then I bought One Day I'll Open Myself. This is also by Borda Adrian. It measures 400 by 500. This one I've had on my wish list from the very beginning, and I never bought it because of the size. I kept going, no, I don't need another big one. Let's buy this little one, right? So yeah, that one had to come with me. It was time. So I'm done buying on Unconventional X Stitch for me. But I was looking on Etsy for something for my grandson, which is when I found the Santa Sport, what is it called? Santa Sport Christmas by Cell Printable Art, which I showed you. Now that one measures 70 by 70. And while I was scrolling through looking for Christmas, another one popped up. And I spent some time looking and thinking, and I don't believe this is AI. And if I'm going to have to search and find out, have it examined. But this is by Trails and Stitch on Etsy. And I couldn't go past this. It was like, wow. So this is Bride and Frankenstein. It measures 120 by 213. And I just, the Witchy Stitcher has one that I've looked at for a long time with Frankenstein. So it's split down the middle. And I really like that, but I've just never jumped on it. And when I saw this, that is a more traditional Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. This is a more modern interpretation. And this one is the one that so I'm really glad I didn't do the other one, because then I'd have to have two. So I showed you my crochet books. So that's all of the cross stitch. I'll be kind of quick. Books. I listened to September House. This was very hard for me to get through. As an audiobook, I'll put an audiobook on, I'll clean my house, I'll make meals, sometimes I'll stitch, sometimes I'll crochet. I can do a lot of things while I'm listening to an audiobook. And if an audiobook is really good, time flies and I don't want to turn it off. I'm hooked, I want to listen to it, and I'll keep listening to it. There are times I'll look and go, okay, this has 10 hours. Can I do most of those 10 hours today? Because it's really good. I just want to listen to it. That means I don't watch anything else. I just listen to books and maybe I'll take a break and listen to some music or something like that. This one, I kept going, oh my God, how much is left? I want to put it down. So it took me several days to finish. How am I going to... Okay, so this started off... Let me give you a little synopsis, and then I'll tell you my problem with the book. So the synopsis is, Margaret and Hal have been married for more than 30 years. They have a 30-year-old daughter who's out on her own. And during all these years, they've struggled. He's a writer, she's an artist. And they finally can afford their dream home. And they find this house, they fall in love with it. And while they're viewing the house, they are so taken by this house, they don't pay any attention when the real estate agent quietly and very subtly tries to tell them that there was a death in the house. And then they go in the basement, and they're very uncomfortable in the basement. But when they come back up, they're so in love with everything else in the house, they totally disregard it. So they buy this house. And they no more than buy the house, and things start getting moved. And so they start blaming each other. Why'd you move this? Why'd you put that there? And then they realize they're not doing it. There's ghosts in this house. And so the ghosts that move things around, Margaret refers to as the pranksters. So there's the whole group, and they're mostly kids, mostly. And then there's Frederica. Frederica is a ghost. She was a housekeeper. She's becomes one of her closest friends. They talk about everything. She's a friend. And Frederica makes her meals. Frederica cleans the house. Frederica makes her tea when she knows she needs it. So that's really nice. But every September, things escalate. Frederica goes from being this great housekeeper to moving everything. Every knife in the kitchen will be in the bathroom sink, or everything gets moved, and they're in crazy places. And screaming and moaning starts, and the walls start dripping blood. It starts up on the 3rd floor, and as the month of September rolls on, every floor, the walls just bleed. And the blood puddles on the floors, and right. But now the pranksters, the stuff isn't as benign, right? So after 3 years of this, Hal decides he can't take it anymore. But she's not leaving. Margaret's staying. So in August of the 4th year, Hal packs up and leaves. He asks her, will you go with me? She says, I'm not leaving my house. So he leaves with nothing but the clothes on his back. After a while, her daughter, Catherine, starts calling and saying, where's Dad? Why is he not answering, replying? And she gives the dumbest answers. It's like, at first she's like, well, he's writing another book. I'll let him know you called. Then she forgets she said that, and she tells her, oh, he's on a trip. And her daughter says, well, I thought you said he was writing. Now, my response, if I'm caught in that, is going to be, yeah, he's on a trip and he's writing. He went on this retreat thing and he's writing. But instead, she's, oh no, I thought he was writing. He's not writing, he's on a trip. Why didn't you just combine the two? So Catherine decides she's coming back when her mother finally says, look, he's been gone about a month. He left. So she comes back because she needs to know where he is, and she's going to try to find him. She gets the police involved, yada yada. One of the reasons I was interested in this book is it's a haunted house story. The other is Margaret was described as a very strong woman. I don't see Margaret as strong. And how do I say this? I'm trying to be careful of YouTube and careful of anyone who has children in the home that might hear this. It turns out that Margaret is a victim of domestic abuse. Hal is very controlling, abusive, and he also is an alcoholic. So Margaret has learned, for any of you, so those are my things. If you don't like gore, you don't want to hear about domestic issues, and you don't want to hear about alcoholism, this book is definitely not for you. It does tie in. There's a reason that this is the situation of this couple and why they are the ones who bought this house. But what really bothered me was Margaret talking about her rules, right? The rules that she lived by to keep her husband from flying off the handle. The rules that made her a victim. The rules that controlled her. And to me, that's not a strong person. It takes a lot to stay in those situations. And I can talk from personal experience. It takes a lot to stay, but it takes strength to leave. And one of the parts that really stood out to me was at one point she's having a conversation with her daughter, and her daughter, they're having these conversations about her childhood and what went on. And at one point her daughter says, okay, he left. If he comes back, are you going to take him back? And she says, what do you mean? He's my husband. And she says, no. After all of this, he left. You don't have to take him back. You have a reason to say you're not coming back. Will you tell him no? And Margaret says, no, he's my husband. I'll take him back. That is not a strong person. So that was a problem. So pretty much the second half of the book is them, mother and daughter, working out their issues while Margaret is at the same time trying to keep her daughter, who came back and is staying with her, from finding out any of the details about this house. That was a little much. But on a better note, while my granddaughter was here, we did a lot of things, but we went to see a movie. We saw Obsession. Now, she had seen it previously, but I didn't. And she said, oh, it's so good, I would love to see it again. And she said, it's really scary. I would classify this movie not horror, but comedic horror. I laughed through most of this movie. There were some that it was like, oh my God, really? And there was a little bit of gore. There was one that I actually told my granddaughter, I said, I could see the cut when they took out the actor and replaced the actor with a dummy, right? I could see that cut, and I could tell when it changed. So especially when you see that cut, then when you see blood or whatever, you're going, well, I can see it's a dummy, right? But there were so many parts that I found funny. It was a good story. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I went to see it. But as she got up and we were leaving, she said, first time through, I didn't realize how much comedic stuff was in this. So yeah, it was an interesting movie. If you like comedic horror, I would liken it more to Zombieland, right? Where there's all this humor, but you still have the zombies and you still have all that going on. If you saw Zombieland. So that's it. So now just life. Like I said, I've been so busy. My oldest granddaughter was here for a week. She had to get back for work, so she's already planning next year. She thinks she can get 2 weeks off of work and she'll be here for her 2 weeks. She has been coming down to my place. Now, I used to live close to her. I moved when she was 6 down to here. And every year from 6 on, except for one, she has spent anywhere from, well, this is only a week, but she's spent as much as 6 weeks at my house. And it's pretty much stayed around 3 weeks. But there was one year she wanted to see how long she could stay, and finally her parents were like, okay, it's time to come home. It's been 6 weeks. We miss you. So we went to a festival. We saw that movie. We had an afternoon where my younger granddaughter came over to hang out with us and brought some games, and we played games and such. We play a lot of games. Each kid has their favorite games, but those are kind of hers, and so we play those. We went to a consignment store, a thrift store, and she was looking for some jewelry. We both found a couple things. I always launder my stuff before I wear it. But in a consignment store, they had a clearance rack, and I found 2 tops for $1. Everything on the clearance wall was $1. And I think she came home with 3 or 4 tops. So we did that. We also went out one evening with my son and both of his kids, and we hung out at the mall. And then we had dinner, and the kids went to Barnes & Noble. Both the girls bought books at Barnes & Noble. As far as other things going on, I mentioned my grandson plays football in high school. He's entering his senior year. This past week, he signed with an agent, and out of 7 offers, and he knows he will get more offers, he did pick one and he signed with the college. And he's so excited. He loved their academic program as well as their sports program. So I'm happy for him. My oldest granddaughter has talked about her career plans. And if she does what she's talking about, she would need to move down here for school. So I let her know if she needs to, we'll work it out and she can stay with me. And then the only other thing is we're going through a heat wave and we're having construction done on the facade. So they say it will take 3 weeks. I think it will take longer. So the facade of our building is brick, and this building was built over 50 years ago. Some of the mortar between the brick is decaying, and so I know there was one apartment that rain and stuff was getting into the apartment. So they're doing what is called pointing. They're repointing the building. So they're going around. First they pressure washed the building, and now they're removing all of the failing mortar, and they're putting in new mortar and securing all the brick. I'm glad the lighting isn't too bad because I have to keep the blinds shut, both to keep the sun out for the heat, and also because they're working right outside and they can see in. So that's just really creepy. So yeah, that's what's going on. So now the oldest granddaughter's home. My grandson is really busy on rehabbing his knee and getting into football again. And so I just have the younger 2, and I'm having that they stop over once or twice a week while their parents are at work. And then when my son gets out of work, he picks them up because he drives right by here to go to work from his home. So that's kind of what has been going on in my life. Yeah, I will be back soon-ish, probably about a week and a half, something like that. I need to get back on a schedule. And if you, Kaylee, right? Kaylee? Anyway, if you are this person and you want the giveaway, please let me know. Again, my information will be down below. It's the Keystone Stitcher on Instagram, and it's the Keystone Stitcher at Gmail for email. And with that, I think that's all I have to tell you. Wow, this got really long. I originally thought there wouldn't be much here because I only worked on a couple things. But I know there's whip parades going on now, and children are home, so I'm going to let you go and enjoy something else. Have a great day. Bye.